Now this is the fly I'm going to be tying. Now it doesn't look a lot. It's a very popular fly here in Scotland, especially in the hill lochs for brown trout. It's also a very good sea trout and salmon fly, tied in different sizes. But this is the Loch Ordie. It's a lovely old pattern, tied with hen hackles, just all hen. It's what they call a top dropper fly. You don't be shy with hackles with it, but or fibre, you want plenty on it. It's fished mainly in a windy day, and this would be the top dropper. Being hen, obviously it's got a lot of movement in it, and it will sink obviously, but you can gink it up, and what this does, or you can use a floatant to lift it, it will allow the fly, as you bring the cast up, lift your rod, it will pop up, and it's a very attractive fly to fish for brown trout, and certainly worth tying. And this is a request I get asked a lot to tie, so I've used the Trout and Salmon Flies of Scotland, the book, to get the dressing, and this is the fly as it's described. Now to tie the Loch Ordie, the hook I'm using, this is a full and mill hook. It's a medium all-rounder. It's a nice wire, though in the Loch Ordie you can tie it in whatever hook you want. You can tie it slightly heavier hook, or you can go slightly shorter in the shank, which there's a short shank special. It's really good for tying it. Thread I'm using is just a uni thread 8 in black. I've waxed the thread, so we've got a nice layer of wax on the thread, so we've got plenty of grip. I'm going to wind the thread to the point of the hook, remove the waste, and then I'm going to tie in this is a black hen, just from a Chinese Indian neck, simple as that. You tie it in by the tip as I would do a hen hackle, but you can tie it in to suit yourself. So what I'm going to do is just locate the tip of the feather using the hackle pliers, draw back the fibres, trim away the excess, and tie it in on the area I'm going to wind it, so it wind up a third of the way. Hopefully I'll get as much as that. Then what I'm going to do is just wind the hackle, folding back the fibres as I wind. Nice and tight. These are nice strong wee feathers. Just wind up, stroking back the fibres. I'm going to use up the whole hackle. And 90-degree bend into the stem, and then tie it down. Trim away the excess of the stem. Any fibres going forward, just draw it back. But before we do that, a bit of wax on with thread. Tidy up that area ready for our dark ginger hackle. What I'm going to do is slightly longer, just in fibre, just slightly longer. Again, we're going to locate the tip of the feather using the hackle pliers. Just hold it, draw it back. By tying the hen hackle in by the tip, you will get a slight taper in the fibre length. So again, we'll trim this, catch it on, nice and tight. Nice base of thread down for your hackle to wind on. What I'm going to do is just remove some of the fluff at the bottom, because I want to wind it up until I've finished the hackle. I want to make sure there's plenty of fibre there. You could tie it to suit, you could put in less fibre, you could reduce it. So you could use a hen or cock hackle, so you get a variant. Though they do gink this fly up, even though it's got soft hackles, it will pop up. It's a top dropper fly, so if you're fishing 3 flies, this has been the top. Again, we're just winding, stroking back the fibres, laying them back to this point here, and again cross over. Make sure it's well tied down. Trim away the excess at this point. Wax on my thread, so there's a nice base of wax thread down for my next hackle. See how things are. Now for the front hackle is we've got the white hen. This again is just from a normal, it's a Chinese or Indian hen would ideal. The first thing we do is just draw back, pull back the fibres we don't want, tear them away. And look at the length, locate the tip of the feather. You can use the hackle pliers, obviously helps. Just draw it back to where you want it to start. So see, you get the taper. So you do from the, if you tie it in from the tip, especially the end, trim that away. Make sure there's wax on your thread. Just tie it in, nice and tight. Work your way up so you'll get that base of thread down for your hackle to wind on. You could use the stems long enough on these to actually wind, but I'll use a hackle pliers so you can see what I'm doing. And then we just basically wind up. Do get a fibre going forward, just stroke it back and then wind one turn in front of the other. I see you can gink this fly up if you want. It will pop up just at the last point, especially fish it in the top dropper. Just going to finish off the hackle, don't be shy. You can tie different variants, you can make them lighter or whatever way you like. Now when you're fishing up in the hill lochs of Scotland, there's a fair wind blowing. You want a good bushy fly, so just catch in with our stem as we do as normal. I'm going to fold it back this time. Keeping the thread nice and tight, we can break that off. And then straight in whip finish. It's not the prettiest fly in the world, but it's what a really good fly to actually fish. So just bring out the fibres so you can see the fly, the nice blend on the mix. All we have to do now is just a bit of varnish onto the eye and onto the head. Don't want it flowing into the feathers, try and keep it back. And there we go. And that's your Loch Ordie. Lovely old wet fly, very popular in the hill lochs of Scotland and anywhere in UK and Ireland. And I'm sure if you fish it anywhere in the world you'll catch trout with it. And if you have the sea trout and the salmon, it's certainly worth tying a different hook. Obviously if you're doing the sea trout, use a slightly stronger hook. So anyway, if you enjoyed that, please subscribe and thank you for watching.